What's up, everybody? How's everything going? It's me, Ray Allen here. Man, I have the unique opportunity to sit down and have an awesome communication chat with one of my favorite teammates of all time. Won a little championship with back in 2013. He made me one of the famous basketball players of all time by just simply passing the ball to me. Can you imagine that? All around the world I go, and people ask about me hitting that shot in games. And I often have to ask myself the same question, like, what would life be like if I didn't hit that shot? In the same token, I always wonder for my brother, what made you pass me that ball? Today we're going to have that conversation, and we're certainly going to delve into a lot of other topics. And just want to also say congratulations to my brother Chris Bosh, who was just announced to inducted into the Hall of Fame. And more importantly, he has a new book coming out. You can get it anywhere, Letters to a Young Athlete. Everybody like to welcome my brother, Chris Bosh. What's happening, Chris?
You're too, hey, come on, man. You're too kind, man. I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, so it's how many years has it been since you've been you kind of threw those tennis shoes up against the telephone wires and just kind of moved on to the next phase of your life?
I played my last game in February of 2016. So it's been 5 years, getting on 5.5 years now. It's been a minute, man.
Yeah, it goes by so fast, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, it
It
goes
really
by fast.
does.
Like it feels like when we talk about the things that happen in our career, because people on social media, we're fortunate. You and I say this all the time, that we are on the right side of social media faux pas when it comes to stuff that happens in the NBA. Because now, if you get crossed over, they make memes about you. Uh, you get dunked on. One of my favorites is the MJ face when he's crying.
The crying face.
Yeah, and they put that on everything, everywhere.
Yeah.
And so um, I always say to myself, I was like, man, thank God that I made it through, this era without, any major faux pas on the basketball floor, because social media has been tough. Did you have anything similar to that? Like, obviously, we played at the end of our careers with social media, but anything that
Yeah.
where you felt like it was the pressure from social media that you went through?
Yeah, absolutely. I write about it in the book as well. It's a couple of stories that I referenced to, but that was more so in the chapter about handling criticism, right? Um, the way at first social media was really fun, right? I had a Twitter account when Twitter started back in 2006, 2007, and it was like a fun thing, very new, fresh, and I was into it. And by the time I got to Miami, you remember how we came together. Uh, that's when more people, the boom with the cell phones had happened. There were more apps with the iPhone, so instantly there was more connection, right? And it kind of went from fun to not fun for me, to be honest. And like, and the reason it was not fun is because I'm scrolling through the comments and reading those things, and then I remember feeling certain type of way. Then eventually I had to say, man, I just have to put this weight down. I'm gonna let it go
Yeah,
because I shouldn't be feeling like this. I'm in a position where I'm just trying to chase my dream, right? I speak about this as well. Sure, there was probably some, just a naive mid 20-year-old chasing his dreams and thinking everyone would understand. I understand those things now. Everybody's not going to agree with your decisions, right? But I wanted to just put that stuff down and just focus on my craft, because I realized that eventually it's just going to go. And you can have your day ruined by somebody who probably is just upset, or they could just be, a little 11-year-old who learned how to curse and and can get a computer, but the feeling that you get. So I learned quite early on that you have to keep it where it is. I never got too deeply into it. It's a great way to connect with your fans, but reading comments, it dictating my day and my life, I was very wary of that because the criticism became instant. You used to have to read a paper. Now
Yeah.
you just pick up your own phone, right? And you can see criticism all day. And that's another thing I had to fight. So, I had to get mentally tougher as well. And, sometimes I just would not read it. Don't read it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to not even pick it up. And those are like the tools I started using to help me out.
And that's there's a lot there to unpack for moving forward, because when you think about us dealing with that as professional athletes, you figure the most confident of the lot of us that have done it for so long, and then just imagine what regular people feel. That's why cyberbullying has become a huge thing, not only in America but around the world, because you're now having to live through the magnifying glass of social media. There's this imaginary web out there where people are talking about you, and you have to portray this image. So it is so difficult now, because as I walk into gyms, kids take water breaks, and the first thing they do is pick up their cell phones. The minute practice ends, they pick up their cell phone, because they got to
Yeah.
jump back into the connectivity of it, because they feel like they've missed something. And what I love that you did was in writing your book. Again, if you guys haven't gotten your copy, Forward by Pat Riley, Letters to a Young Athlete. What I love that you did in the book, just from, I haven't had the chance to read all of it yet, but just from chapter to chapter, it's honest conversations, with kids, trying to give them, honest advice. It's not really, the game is important. I think people want to ask you, how you felt in certain situations in certain games, but it's really about the mindset of how you succeed, and you trying to help the young people, get to the levels that you were at in your life. Tell us why you wanted to write this book in the first place.
So when I was done playing, I had all these questions that I had to answer, and they were very tough questions, right? Like, what am I going to do with my time, with my life, moving forward? Who am I? And me as a reader, I used to read before every game, on the bus, on the plane. That was my thing. And the first thing that came to me and said, well, do what you love, right? That's what you read in the books. And I was looking for a better answer. You're
Yeah,
always looking for a better answer when you
yeah,
need
yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You don't hear
It's too
what you
simple.
need.
That's too simple.
Right. And so I just kept coming back to those things, and I found myself, doing music and writing. And just during this time, I would just free write all the time. Every morning, I would take my son to class, and I would just write, free write anytime. And it was like, pen to the paper, grueling, hand cramps, all that stuff. And I would just fight through it. And every morning, just make that commitment. I did that for a while. And what I noticed was just my pattern of thoughts, which were not good at the time. And so after I realized that, I said, okay, I need to let that go, because I'm writing about it every day. You get tired of hearing yourself, And I said, I need to be more positive. And then I found myself just, of course, thinking about basketball and the whole ride, and thinking about the game when I was in middle school, and on the court with my friends, and playing pickup in the summertime and stuff like that. And I found an appreciation, starting to come back, and recognizing that it was always there, and I wanted to eventually, of course, you have to continue working the process. I wasn't thinking this may be something until months and months and months later. And then, the opportunity came, it came up, and we had something. And I just felt that I wanted to leave something to the game, both the game of life and the game of basketball. because I read so many things in books that helped me. And this is the book that I wish I could have read, in preparing. I was one of my main things. I'm reading a book because it helps me get me in that mind space to compete or focus or go after that goal or stay in the zone. And this is pretty much that book that I wanted to read. So I'm just thinking of all those stories, thinking of those lessons, and the stories I can remember that, of course, were important. And I feel that this was very important because I remember it is so near and dear to my heart, and this is how I got over the challenge. These are the things that I did, and hopefully, people can take it and make it their own. And I hope that it tremendously helps someone out there trying to do great. So that's kind of the evolution of thought of where it went to. And I hope that people pick it up and one day they accomplish something great, and then they'll give something back that makes sense for them and others.
Yeah, to give it back is so super important. Um, as you're uh, going through this process, you're trying to figure out, like, for most of us young athletes, and even anybody who's achieved any level of greatness, most of us, when we were younger, you're out in the world and you're searching. You're looking for a wink in the right direction. You want to know if you're moving on, and I think this will serve as a Bible for young people, because some kids, just like me when I was growing up, I just wanted to see Michael Jordan, stand next to him, so I could, at least I could look him down and say, okay, I'm close to being tall enough. Because as a young person, a lot of times the people around us, they're the worst as far as the encouragement, because they look at us and think that this is who we're going to be in the future, and we can't be any greater than where we are at that moment.
Right.
And so it takes other people around us to kind of nudge us in that direction, and us, the one, have the confidence to be able to do that. But two, it's like, it's the most like individual thing that you have to do, but the most dependent, because it's like a dichotomy between needing help, but then doing it by yourself.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah, man.
you said that process from when you're writing, at what point from when you're writing and then you realize you had to switch, did somebody help you with that? Did you, in your own mind, did it flip? Like, who was your support staff and your system that allowed you to maybe reframe or reposition your brain to move forward and then jump into action? Because everybody
Yeah.
thinks that we have it all figured out all the time, that we just
Right.
do it, right? But we
Yeah.
do have people in place that kind of push us in that direction.
So the main thing that I implore people to do is, if you have a goal, you identify the goal, then you work backwards. So for me, it was always fascinating because people would come to me and say, "Yo, you should write a book. You should write a book." And I'd be like, I what? What does that mean? I was still playing, And in this instance, even though I felt that I did have something, it has to follow a certain structure. There is a team that helps get these things off the ground. So in my case, it really started with the family. It started with myself and my wife, her encouragement, her pushing me to continue going, even when it felt like it was not going to happen. That's first and foremost. Then, of course, if you work backwards from the release of a book, you have agents, you have publishers, you have writers, editors. I did what is the reading for the audio book, and even before all that, there was contracts and lawyers, people that we hire to make sure the language is proper, to make sure both ourselves and Penguin understand what's going on. Working with Penguin, having even going before that, having an idea. It started out with having an idea and then shaping it into about, I guess, 3 chapters around there. 3-4 chapters is just an idea, very rough. And then you have to pitch that to publishers after talking to your agents and after they get it. And it's a thorough process. And I want people to understand too, this took 3 years. And this is from the inception of, oh wow, maybe just quite maybe this is an idea, to holding the book in my hands. It took 3 years. Before that, it took 2 years of writing, just writing to even have enough to have an idea, just to go through that process. But those things didn't matter because I was just in the habit of doing those things. But you have to find out what team is necessary. In my case, like, okay, maybe this is a book. Well, how does that happen? Because I can't just go and just say, okay, hey, book, and
Yeah.
everybody gets it. The marketing, the artwork, the publishing, the editing. I mean, it was we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and that's why I'm so happy to do this. But for those looking for advice on how to do those things, how to get started, how to put in action, you have to continuously find those things, that next step that you need. Have that conversation, talk. Maybe Cole, if you want to write a book, Cole, call your favorite writer. Is
Never
hit him on
know.
social media. Hey, I'm trying to do this. What do I need to do? You have to have that natural curiosity of the process, so that way you know where you are and you know what you have to do. Going through it.
And so, in light of all that, there are a lot of people that are watching us today that have a lot of questions. And, that is to your point. People have access to anybody these days, by social media, and you could ask questions to anybody. Obviously, I always encourage people to send incredible questions. Any question is an incredible question. You want to know the answer to something, you got to ask it. But you're more likely to get a response by something that is, worthy of a real response, and it may be, something that, someone may want to really help you out with. So I'm going to start with Anthony from Miami, Florida. He wants to know, when you're a young athlete, what drove you and motivated you to keep going on those days when you're just tired and not feeling it. We've all been there.
Man, they get hard. They get hard. It gets harder. When I was a young athlete, I mean, automatically I think about, oh boy, freshman year. I write about this in the book as well. Under conditioning, just with the conditioning thing in mind, we had a coach, Robert Allen. Man, we would practice, and we were pressing and fast breaking. That was our style. And oh man, he would have us running the suicides. We do it almost every practice. And I mean, just the soul crushing feeling of hearing him saying, all right, everybody on the line. And, he would say it like, hey, we're working on our condition. This is not punishment.
Yeah.
And still just that feeling. And then having that practice, and then having, to come back to that. When you're younger, sometimes that fun part is just playing in the game. And he made us realize how much work you have to put in to the conditioning aspect to be able to perform. That didn't make it easy, though. And then in college, the conditioning goes up a notch. And oh man, I'm getting my butt handed to me in the classroom and on the court, and I'm just sad and tired and homesick. I just always quitting was never in my vocabulary. If I'm going after, if I want to play basketball, this is what I'm doing. I signed a scholarship to go to Georgia Tech. I can't go home. Then what am I going to do? I never.
Good, but you didn't quit.
I could. Yeah, I'm not going to quit. And then, sometimes when you want to make that fast decision, sometimes you just, tomorrow. I'll wait a little bit. But I just always wanted to come back. If it was basketball, I just kept coming back and kept wanting to do it, because I know deep down inside that it brings me joy. And, this is just a phase, and it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It has to get better. And that's how I always felt about it.
Yeah. So, for most of you all that are listening, what you see in myself, Chris, right now is two guys that felt and gone through the same stress and tension and adversity, and we didn't give up. You know, I always say is the only reason that you know who we are, because we didn't quit on ourselves. And at some point in your life, it's going to get tough. You actually want it to get tough, because now you kind of have to stretch yourself and figure out how and who you are and what you're made of. You know, it's, you know, we could talk about so many different plays, you know, in our career, but we'll move on. We got a question from Lincoln from Pflugerville, and he wanted to know, speaking of college, what made you go to Georgia Tech over University of Texas?
Oh man, that's a good one.
Was it because of Stephon Marbury?
Yeah, I mean, you know, UT was loaded that year. A lot of people asked me that. They were loaded. I think they had 5 All-Americans. And the way I looked at it, it was a guy by the name of Brad Buckman. He was a McDonald's All-American as well. He had already committed before I did. And so, you know, in my mind, that position was filled. I went to Georgia Tech because I wanted to play in the ACC. My goal was to make the NBA. And so throughout the recruitment process, I just keep in mind of, you know, who I feel are, you know, are the top tier leagues in college. And so I was always a fan of the ACC growing up. I watched all the basketball, all the tournaments, all the March Madness. So, you know, Georgia Tech was an ACC school. They were recruiting me hard. They were coached by Coach Hewitt, a Black man. I was looking for that as well. I wanted to play for a Black head coach, you know, somebody who I felt that would understand me more. And, you know, he was big on education. I was, and my family was as well. And it was, like I keep saying, the ACC. And so I said, okay, if I want to go to the league, I got to go to the ACC. And on top of all that, they had a need to fill at the power forward position. So those were like the main reasons. I wanted to play right away. I had family in Atlanta. I was familiar with Atlanta. You know, it's just all of the things that I was looking for in the recruitment process that I decided those things were important to me. Georgia Tech aligned with that situation. And when I went to go visit, you know, when you can just feel the connection and feel like, yeah, this is it. You can't necessarily describe it. And that was pretty much when I went on my visit. I just said, yeah, I see it, feel it. Yeah, I've been thinking about it. This is where I want to go to school. And, you know, that's the main reason. Yeah. But UT was good though, man. They went to the Final Four that year.
Hard to go with UT, go against them, because they, you know, from top to bottom, you know, scholastically and athletically, the school is so great. Yeah, I've never visited, but I just know that from afar. So you couldn't have gone wrong either way. So from GT to TO, you know, going north of the border, Noah B, you have a lot of fans on here from Toronto. And they want to Noah B from Toronto. He wants to know, what was it like for you in Toronto, 1, and 2, what was it like for you watching them win in 2019, where you played for so long? Did you feel a sense of kinsmanship to the city and to the fans?
I was so happy for the city of Toronto, for the fans, just to have that championship experience. You know how infectious it is in the city, in their case, the whole country, you know, but it's just like the whole city is on fire and every game is important and everybody is wearing the colors and excited, and that spirit is in the air. I love that they had an opportunity to experience that and actually win it, have the parade and all that stuff. That's that was so amazing. And I was covering the game, actually. I was with Canadian Sports TV out there.
TSN?
Yeah, I was with TSN. And, you know, it was just fun. I watched the whole series. I watched every game. And you know, it was interesting seeing all the old faces and everybody like, Chris, can you believe it? Everybody kept saying the same thing. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing, guys. You think we can win it? That's what I kept getting. It was just so great to see that, you know. But you know, Toronto, man, it was such a great place. It is such a great place. And when I was there, those first 7 years of my career, it was tough at first. It was a culture shock. I had never been around such a diverse group of people. Um, I had to take a lot in. It's another country, the weather. I thought I knew cold and I did not know cold. So that's a whole other part to life that you have to get used to, plan for, and all that stuff. And really just growing up. I was 19 when I got drafted, and our next youngest player was Mo Pete. He's like 26, 20, 25, 26. So I went straight from having in the dorm room, hanging out with my buddies, playing video games, having fun, going to parties, and then every now and then, just goofing off every now and then, hanging out, being young men in dorms to having that ingrained community to like in an apartment, in a condo. Yeah, sure, it was a nice condo, but it's empty.
There's nothing in it.
It's nothing in it. I'm here. Who's going to practice with me? I have to drive to practice. It's depending on where I live, who's going to take care of this apartment, this house. It's just like you go from a controlled situation to real life very quickly. And on top of that, just getting beat down on that court, man. It was, man, it was early 2000s basketball was a little different.
Yeah,
it was a lot. It was more physical than it is to this day. So, I was having to take that beating too. I was playing 30 plus 35 minutes a game for the team. And that was another tough situation to deal with, not being elite anymore, having to start from the bottom and work your way up. That was a long process, but all in all, I'm appreciative for the city and everything they did. The fans were great. They always supported, and I just love playing there.
So in 2003, 2004 was your last year there. And there was when you became a free agent, what was the process like? Because you got not 2003, 2004. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say 2010, right?
Yeah. That was when you came into the league in 2004. But your last year when you became a free agent in Toronto, what was the process like when you had to make this decision, and it came to a point where you were making a decision somewhat in part with D Wade and LeBron.
Right.
Like what brought that on at that time in your career? That time in the summer, was it something that you searched out, or did it come together because LeBron brought you together? How did that process take place?
Which part? Being a free agent during that time, or?
Well, you became a free agent. Once you became a free agent, then you started to look around.
Yeah.
Did you know immediately, I'm going with what these guys decide and we're going to package together, or did that kind of develop over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it developed. It took a while to develop because Brown was still competing. Dwayne season was over. My season was over. Brown was still competing for a championship. So everything happened very fast. But yeah, it wasn't until later in the process. And then even on top of that, the teams have to make the necessary moves to have enough cap space, right, to even entertain that idea. One of the things I didn't see coming was how I was going to feel emotionally going through that process. Like after 6 free agency meetings, I'm just like, I was exhausted because each team is promising the world, of course, and championships. And the way that they were using me as a chess piece in this whole fiasco was saying, if you sign now, somebody's coming. Mm-hmm. So that was my like mental thing that I had to get through. But at the end of the day, after talking with Pat Riley and hearing him speak, he's a prolific speaker. He lives for those moments. Hearing what he had to say, I felt that, that was the place, this is what I want to do. And then I would say probably about maybe 48 hours. I can't remember, you know, it's in there in time somewhere, but I
Yeah.
want to say in my mind, it was about 48 hours that I made my decision. And then 72 hours after that, we were in Miami.
It happens. Free agency happens.
It happens fast.
Yeah. That's why when you make your decision, you better be sure.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we make the decision. They're over here, over here, over here, over here. And then we were
Yeah.
coming up and smoke was everywhere. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
is crazy, bro.
You're like, I don't
That's
believe I'm here
literally
right
how it happened. Yeah. That's why I was so hype and screaming.
now.
I was happy, man.
So Nathan from Penrith, New South Wales, Australia. We got him from all over the world today, Chris. He said, you're part of one of the biggest, greatest big threes in NBA history. If you could be part of a new big three from today's generation of players, who would you like to team up with?
Ooh, that is a good one, man. That's a good one.
Penrith, New South Wales.
So, okay, I play the 5 in today's game, of course. Man, being a big, I love to get open, right? I'm playing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, man. We'll make another big three out there. That's what I do. Yeah. Steph, I've never seen it was like you with the catch and shoot and the crazy angles and fading away and just a quick release. I had never saw that. Steph is like a player I've never saw that. I don't know, man. Just the shots
and he's got the ball
shoots from. Yeah. Oh man, he's that from the handle to raise. It's crazy, and then the accuracy. I want to play with him, and then he moves like you. Mm-hmm. You could tell he watches your film.
Steady moving.
Yeah, he tells you can tell he watches your film because you have to guard. Not only is he a dangerous shooter, but he's everywhere on the court, running, and you remember how it was. The whole defense is looking this way. Yeah. I'm open. That's what I would do.
And that's a great choice for you because it creates so many mismatches in different directions that it offsets the floor where it allows you got now a primary defender where you can kind of be, flat-footed and get whatever you want.
That's
I think a lot of people don't realize like the way I had to move and the way you see Steph moving, defense has to shift. Mm-hmm. When you have a shooter like that of that caliber on the floor, there's a shift that's created. What we need to do and look forward to is trying to play against that shift as they try to shift back in position. Now it's too late. We get to the hole.
Yeah.
Or extra pass and the shot goes up. And he's certainly one of those players that creates that shift. So I want to move on to a couple different topics. There's some people that have some pretty good questions here. The Boshis from San Leandro, California, is wondering if you could talk a little bit about the great work your foundation does in fostering education, especially encouraging underprivileged kids to take up careers in STEM.
Oh boy, man, we got some future doctors and lawyers out here. That's excellent. So my foundation is called Team Tomorrow Incorporated. Unfortunately, we haven't, of course, coming out of COVID and stuff, and finding my new way in retiring, we haven't done as much as we'd like to. But it's getting to the process. This book is a part of that. When I was growing up, I was in a robotics club in high school, and I was in this group called the Whiz Kids, and it was pretty much learning computer graphics and illustration, and that's what I would do after school before basketball practice, in like that short off season while football is in its prime state, right? And before practice, we didn't live in a very safe neighborhood, so to speak. That's how I phrase it. And so, going other places wasn't an option. So I needed something to fill my time with while I was waiting. And, I was just always into computers and design and all that stuff. So I did those things and throughout, really my adolescent, my childhood, teenage years, all that good stuff growing up, I always kept it close to me. And I always thought about it was this dude, just throwing away stereotypes. It was this dude that I knew him. He had just stopped playing basketball. His name was Purvis. He had gold teeth, right? We can have that mental image of somebody, right? This dude was in the robotics club, like soldering cables and helping put the machines together. And it was like this secret thing in the school, like, yo, what Purvis, you can solder cable, like probably a genius. And we don't even have that many resources for him to develop his talent or to get discovered. And so potentially you have someone who you can have all the stereotype images about, and there's so much potential there. And especially with today, with the climate today, I just feel like, coding is important. Electronics, understanding those things, that is important. STEM education is important because people saying that's where we're going. No, we're already there. So I'm always big on that. Pushing those educational ideas because people help me. I mean, people don't know that about me. If there was a free camp in the community, I went to it. Like my mom and dad would drop during the summertime. Tommy and Mallon, J.C. Phelps, Dallas Public Library, Salvation Army, St. Philip's Catholic School. It's just like these were, the stepping stones of, I guess, just my experience with the community putting back into itself. So, I'm a product of those things, and I hold them near and dear to my heart because they helped me get to where I am now. So I try to always promote that message that, hey, help someone, of course, and educational aspect is important. And we try to make sure we fund those programs that are in line with that. We want more color and more females in coding, mathematics, STEM education. That's one of the things that we want. So, we're working on it, man. We're getting there, but excellent question, man.
Yeah, it is, and I appreciate the question and everything that you guys are doing at your foundation. It's unfortunate for myself and the likes of you and people like us because we make it to the top of our fields, and people see us in our glory and our splendor. All the the winning championships and making all-star games, and so what comes along with that territory is that people think this is all we ever are.
Yeah.
This is all we ever do. Like you're great at basketball and you can't possibly do anything else, and you're such a great example for all people because the minute you speak about something else, it's like, well, tell me about that rebound. Tell me about that. Yeah. And you're so multifaceted that it's important that people pick up his book so they can understand what it is and who it is that Chris Bosh really is. But in the same token, tell people why it's important. And this is a question from Bob from Austin, Texas. Your neighbor. What advice you would give to athletes who would also get involved in public policy or politics, because the platform does exist, and we need more people that are pushing that positive message and narration.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, right? You have to figure out the balance for yourself. As an athlete, it's not required. Nobody can make you do what you want to do, but you do have a choice when it comes to using your platform how you see fit. I always tell people, especially it's kind of like a hot topic right now, but I mean, if they get into their history, I would implore them to look up the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. Athletes stood up for themselves. They sent a message and they were very clear on what it was. And they were speaking about the inequality of Black people in America back then. Even a little bit around that time in the 60s during the civil rights era, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we were speaking of him earlier, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, They were holding press conferences with Martin Luther King, having meetings with Malcolm X, the actual, people out there doing what they're doing. And, it's always been like that. This is never, this isn't anything that hasn't changed. I think this is more so like people just catching up with the times and becoming aware of what's been going on. And so I always implore people, if you see something, speak up, and lead by example or lead with your voice. There's many ways to do things. You just have to find a way to do what you feel comfortable in, the way that is you. And I've always it has always been important to myself and my family, and of course, being a Black man in America, there's things you have to learn, and that education is always continuing, because now I'm a father, right? And I have 5 children, so I have to think about them as well. I have to take the initiative to say, okay, let me get involved in my community. Let me go shake hands and have these conversations. Let me go and talk to my neighbor. Let me go to the grocery store and the post office. And, it's that civic, some sort of civic duty. It's kind of like that as well. So, we all play a part in that, but it's an evolving conversation. And as we continue to have it, we just have to, have respect for each other, right? Have
Yeah.
respect for each other,
Yeah,
but we can still talk about it. Yeah.
yeah. And I think what people fail to understand or recognize in who we are is the simple idea that we wear so many different hats. So it's one thing to be a dad, but then you're an athlete, you're a businessman, you're a husband, you
Yeah.
have a foundation, you're an alumni of a college. Like, you wear so many different hats, so you have perspective. You pay a lot of taxes. So all these issues that take place in America, you have some type of footprint, that exists in that lane, that you have to be able to have an opinion on, and more importantly, try to improve on it. So to use your voice, use our voices, is so super important. Um, and you've always been an advocate for young people, for mental health, for education, like you said earlier. And I've always admired that about you on the planes, is you were constantly reading. Uh, I love to read too, and it's super important. As athletes, you can be very privy to understanding basketball and knowing the lingo and being very savvy. But then, if you're not educating yourself every day on world events, then you do almost, I won't say you get dumber, but you're not getting smarter.
That's anybody as well,
Yeah.
right? That's man, that's why I put it in that chapter: cultivate the mind,
Yeah.
Stimulate your mind. Yeah, have the ability to be able to speak on an array of topics, not because you're a know-it-all or you're really pushing it. You just, no, hey, yeah, I heard about that. Oh yeah, yes. You can be well versed, and then what happens? You're able to function in different rooms and have different conversations,
Yeah.
because you're well read, because you've put the work in to actually read a couple of articles, about e-commerce or quantum computing or cryptocurrency or something like that, and you're able to be decently versed and talk to people and educate yourself even more. And who knows what can happen. But when I feel that the more the more educated the more I educated myself, the better basketball player I became.
Yeah. And
You
I
just
think,
know those things. Yeah.
and that's the thing people are so afraid of, is the lack of knowledge or information, but it's there in front, it's there for them to
Mhm.
read. It's in books. People are afraid.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like you're afraid to have this conversation and not know something, but everything about what's going on in the world is somewhere to be read. But it just takes the time and the encouragement. And I think ultimately, the lack of information contributes to ignorance and people's inability to be able to grow and do the things ultimately that they want to do in their life. And you see the insecurities in people and young people and the lack of confidence. And I always equate that to if a young person, like whenever you go into that school the next day and you have a test, if you studied, you did all your homework, you go in there like pen, you like, I'm ready to knock this down. Like I'm ready
Right.
to, but then, the guys that didn't study, the time you feel so insecure and you lack confidence, you're over here like, man, what, I don't know what's going to happen. Like you kind of like whittle down to nothing when you walk in that classroom because your confidence in taking this test is not there. And so that does contribute to so many issues in our kids and learning, and certainly in how we prepare to play our sport. I ask you one more question from Brett, La Crosse, Wisconsin. As a man who has accomplished so much in his life, what would you tell young up and coming athletes about self-care off the court as well as mental health as a part of total health?
Oh man, that's the one, man. Self-care. When I first got into the NBA, and then I'll get to the younger athlete. When I was in the NBA, it was actually taboo. I remember I was getting some work on the table, getting massage on my legs. Very painful experience. The vets at the time, the vets would come in. Oh man, what you doing on that table? You don't need to be, man. Get up, man. No, you don't need to. You got chastised for taking care of your body. How crazy is that, right? But even going back before that, I tell stories in the book of how much LeBron stretched. I had never seen it before, and we were around that age. He would stretch all the time. Twice he said, "Oh, I built up the habit to stretch twice a day." I remember even going back in high school. I was able to go to All American camps. We start stretching before practice, and I'm like, "Yo, what are you guys doing? You guys don't stretch?" Oh yeah, no. Not even understanding it, let alone getting into it. That didn't happen until a little bit in my career. It's good to know these things. It's again, educating yourself. It's your body, is your biggest asset, and that's whether you're an athlete or not. It's good to be well versed in that as well, and to know how to take care of it, because sometimes you're going to have to know whether you're hurt or injured, right? Can you go or not? That's going to be a decision you have to be in tune with your body to know when to push it and when to rest. That's going to have to be something you need to know. But, you're never too young to educate yourself on the body. Stretching, cold baths, those plunges, man. It builds up the mental toughness, the resiliency. You get into it early. That way you'll get used to it as the years go on. And I mean, it's just an overall good thing to have. I forgot what was the second part to the question.
It's
Like
about self-care off the court
mental
as well as
health.
mental health.
Yeah, the mental health, just being aware and knowing, and don't use mental health as an excuse to get out of practice. You know what I mean? Know the difference from mental health and just being tired and not wanting to do something and
Yeah.
wanting to give up. That is a balance as well. You have to be in tune with yourself. You have to think about these things, and you know, mental health. Speaking about it will not get rid of that voice in your head. Okay, when you're running and the one that says stop, you'll never do it. Like, people like, oh, no. That's just regular. I implore everyone to learn tools to help you with that, and make sure you're okay. I think we're seeing it with Naomi Osaka, right? She's, who knows what she's going through. People go through so many different things, but if she needs to step away from the game to take care of herself, do it. And it's good that she's aware of that. It's good that she knows that, and now I'm hoping that she um is able to fix the problem and hopefully get back on the court one day. But I think just being aware of it, and taking care of yourself is just very important, to start educating yourself as a young athlete.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to one of my earlier questions about when you were writing. Um, the support system that you have around you that allows you to think outside the box, to continue to push yourself, even in times when you want to quit. It's always going to be some type of winding road that we're going to find ourselves traveling down. And at the end of the day, if you keep moving, you keep going. They say when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot. When you get to the end of your rope, this is what happens. You get to write a book.
Hey man, how about that?
I congratulate you again, because this right here, it'll live forever. You all the things that you've done in your life, now you're a published author. So congratulations for that. I want to thank everybody that came on and that asked questions. Hope that we help some of you. Chris, I want to just thank you, but also give you the opportunity to, if there's anything that you want to add, anything you want your listeners, your followers to know, please, this is your opportunity, to give it to us.
Well, I mean, yeah, we got a few more minutes. You said something interesting earlier, man. You said, I can't believe I passed you the ball. You really feel that way?
No, it's not that I don't think.
Or did I see you, or yeah.
Yeah, I know I was right in your purview, but it's just one of those moments when you ultimately kind of realize that your teammate trusts you, and obviously, I have a body of work where you had every reason to trust me in that moment. But that's still a moment. That's still, a huge moment that people still talk about. Like, I get questions about it every single day. I see videos of it every single day. And I always, from my vantage point, because we all have a perspective, I always say to myself, man, CB had the wherewithal to get me the ball, because he thought to himself, like, what was in his head that said at that moment, I need to make sure that I get the ball to this man right here. Yeah. Because that was your decision. It could have went either way. You could have got the ball and held it and looked, God knows I've been with plenty of teammates where I've been standing there right there, and then they'll go and look the other way because at the last second they just say, right. Oh, he was a little close. He was right there. Like, because I deal with this with my kids. Like, literally, they'll be taking the ball out of bounds, and the guy is standing right in front of them wide open, and they throw it to the other guy down the court, turn the ball over. I was like, why didn't you just throw it to the guy standing in front of you? So we only have these moments to make these split-second decisions, and right then you made a split-second decision, and you put me in a position to really show people around the world who I am and who I've been.
Yeah.
And I get to continue to tell this story over and over again. But without that moment, without you making that pass, I'm not able to tell that story. So it's an example of fortitude and preparation, over a life.
For sure, man. I was interesting when you said that. I said, wow. Because I mean, you're the first person I saw, to be honest. You tell you, I could hear you. You said, hey, oh. And in my head, it went so much slower. It's like I had all this time. Oh, there's Ray, but in reality, it was so much quicker. That was just so funny. I just
same with me too. It felt like a slow motion. Yeah. But in the same token, the thing, because people ask me all the time, like, man, you saved LeBron's career, and I'm like, are you serious? If anybody that says that, and this is a huge stretch, but I'm just going to say it. Anybody that says that has not been on a great team, because great teams, that at some point somebody has to do something that's not the starting five to help.
Yeah, for sure.
Like even I always make the example in that game that Mike Miller made a three with his shoe off. He still focused. He didn't complain but his shoe came off and he got it and he shot it and he made a three. Like, that moment got us to the next moment. LeBron hit a three before that. Like, if you look at statistically, what guys did during that game in that series, it's like a ping pong ball where you get pushed to one situation to the next, and they create how we respond. Without each moment, we don't know how the next moment is going to be. So I always laugh at people when they say that. I'm like, you're crazy because, Mario Chalmers, Norris Cole, Shane Battier,
Oh, yeah.
Udonis
UD,
Haslam,
yeah.
like Jawan Howard, like so many guys contributed in small ways to big ways throughout that whole season that allowed us to be able to raise that trophy. And that's what being a
Yeah.
part of the team is. And that's why I always give everybody credit, because I just did what I was supposed to do when it came time for me to do my job.
Right.
But you guys held me up like this, to be able to do my job. And that ultimately is what is so special about that moment, because you did your job. I did mine. You blocked Danny Green's shot, which was even more huge that people seem to forget. And then they
Yeah.
seem to forget that we went into overtime, we had to win. And then they seem to forget that we had to play in game 7.
Man, there
Like
was still
all
more to
those
do.
things have to be in position for us to hoist that trophy. So
Yeah.
it certainly was a special, special moment.
Yeah. And I would say, just hearing you say that to everybody listening, I'm so glad they got to listen to that and hear that. Because I think what's being, one thing that's being misunderstood is the value of a great team and how necessary that is. And I want young athletes to understand. I want everyone to understand that it takes a team. If you want to accomplish great things, it takes a team. But individually, you have to put in your work. You have to dedicate yourself, and then as a team, you have to put in the work together. And that's such a great analogy. Just breaking down that shot, just using the easy thing for everyone. You know, I asked, how many times did you shoot that shot before you even used it in that game? Do you think? Just, I know the number is limitless, but would you put a number on it? That
Well,
specific shot, backing up, not looking down.
well, I'll tell you, in that day, I probably shot it 70 times.
That day, you shot it 70 times.
Yeah.
That
Well,
shot right there.
let's say 40.
But still,
Yeah.
that exact specific. That was not the first time you shot that shot, even into an extreme case in that day.
Yeah.
And
40
so I
times.
want people to understand that that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But just that's the work that it took. And even before that, hundreds of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of that same shot. Just, I'm not talking about anything else, just that shot, right?
Yeah. And
And
you think about that in that day, and then the day before, and then the game before, I was doing the same thing. So DC, one of our assistant coaches, he was telling me the next day, my wife, he said he was talking to his wife. He goes, that just so you know, that wasn't luck. Like, we worked on that before the game, at least 30, 40 times, so yeah, that's what we always say. Luck is opportunity meets preparation, you know,
correct,
that ball
right?
bounces in ways where the person who's prepared is able to receive it. And I think
Yeah.
the fact that you were
Oh, go
there,
ahead. Sorry.
received it.
And I think, just as a team, you putting in your work individually for that, me putting in my work individually to be able to rebound, to know the play, to execute the play, and, allow instinct because, working on these things, outlet passes, it took your preparation and my preparation and the team's preparation, but just dissecting that one moment, I want people to hear that part. It took hours and hours and hours. I'm talking about in the hundreds of thousands, okay, to just have the opportunity to shoot that, get that rebound and shoot that shot. So always put the work in. Be aware of that. You have to put work into your craft. You have to always want to strive to be great, and you've got to practice. You heard Ray Allen say that was not his first time shooting that shot that day. So therefore, it is not luck. So I definitely want everyone to understand that. Want them to hear that. And man, it takes teamwork and hard work.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
And the thing that I want to point out is in chapter 2, you just said it. You have to find your why, and it can't be about fame or money. You know, this is something that I think kids struggle with because they want to be famous. When you achieve something great, you realize in order to stay on top, trying to be famous is not going to keep you on top, or the money's not going to keep you on top, because if you're not working on your craft, you don't want to be the best. If you don't want people to fear you, one of the things that used to like encourage me was being able to be in better shape than everybody, that when the other guy was guarding me, he couldn't keep up and the other coach had to sub him out of the game because he was too tired. Like that was a motivator of mine, being at a level that other people couldn't get to. And I call that rare air. Everybody couldn't get to that rare air. And if you could fight and strive for that, then you'd be amazed at the levels of success that you reach, because you're going to a place that nobody else is willing to go to. And I think you have been there, and you consistently go there because you're pushing the envelope every single day. You started your own record company called Daddy Jack Records, which is amazing. And to be writing a book now, and to be raising a family the way you are, being a family man. There's so many things that you have going in your life, and I appreciate your example. People to be able to put your thoughts down on words, on paper, is an amazing thing. I appreciate this conversation. I said to you a day or so ago that you and I need to have a podcast in the future.
For sure, man.
Be able to discuss topics, as they come to us, because, it is, a great perspective that you always hold. So with that being said, I want to tell everybody, please go out and get Letters to a Young Athlete from Chris Bosh.
About to sign these books right quick while I'm at it. You know what I mean? Hold up. Just so everybody can see it. These are about to start going out, all right?
Forward by Pat Riley. You guys I appreciate everything, Chris.
Of course, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Don't get a sore hand. Have a good time signing those books. I was right there with you. One about 2-3 years ago, signing my own book, so I know what.
That's awesome, bro. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, and good luck to everyone.
Yeah, likewise.